class Crow Crusaders and Fire Drinker Crusaders and so forth. Plus, accessing the sideboard to Unflinching Courage, not really a card that Tom Steck is prepared to beat.
We're going to see Dominic Roos here against Danny Smith. We've got Band Control against green-white aggro. So we're underway here. And again, these players both have 2 losses, so there's actually a very real chance here that whoever does win this match makes the top 8.
Yes.
So we are underway. This is a Plains into a Soldier of the Pantheon. Roos did scry. You see he's going to untap, play an island here, and there's a Sylvan Caryatid, arguably the most important card for his deck.
It is the most important thing going on here, and we've actually seen kind of an uptick of Band Control as well in recent weeks. Frank Lepore made a deep run in the Providence Open a few weeks back with a deck similar to this. It's 3-color, good stuff. The green cards that you get, most notably are Kiora and Advent of the Worm and Corsair Crewfix, in lieu of the black cards that you can get in Esper Shell.
Mana Confluence will be deployed. This will be an attack here for 2.
And a good bluff attack there by Danny. Not a lot of cards in these decks that can pump Soldier of the Pantheon in that spot, because most of the pump spells that get played are gold cards, Gorklan Rampager, Selesnya Charm, what have you. But there's no harm in trying, and it appears that he may have gotten some free points in.
Yeah, you know, the first thing that you think of is when you're playing against a green-white deck is, oh man, Selesnya Charm, that would be really good right now. I don't want to block, but Selesnya Charm, of course, can't target the Soldier.
It is an awkward element of decks like Selesnya aggro and some Naya decks we see as well, where it's Soldier of Pantheon alongside a lot of gold pump spells.
Yeah, Boros Charm to give double strike and things like that. Just these will not work. You see Roos is going to play a Temple of Mystery, gain a life here. Go up to 19. Advent of the Worm on top of the deck, but Roos simply going to pass the turn back. Smith will take a draw here. We'll see if the same attack can work yet again here in just a moment. See if Smith has any interest in making it. Looks like a little bit of confusion, but it looks like we're good to go. So Smith will draw a card. Looks like another copy of Mana Confluence.
And now I'm interested to see what Danny does here. If you attack with the Soldier last turn, there's an argument that you're supposed to attack with the Soldier again next turn, because whatever Dominic's playing around, he may be playing around again.
Well, time for a Selesnya Charm now. And that'll take care of the Corsair and push some damage through. So a little bit of trample will occur here. 1 damage going to come across. Of course, Smith will take 1 from Mana Confluence. A Temple of Plenty will come into play. Take a look at the top card. I'm going to check the hand here. You can see the Mana Confluence, 2 copies of Selesnya Charm and Advent of the Worm. So these Advent of the Worms that Roos has in hand are actually pretty much taken care of.
We talk a lot about, Selesnya and all the good green-white cards. Voice of Resurgence usually at the top of the list. As far as standard is concerned, Selesnya Charm to me is the most compelling reason to play this card. You get a good answer to cards like Master of Waves and Obsidat, cards that a lot of decks struggle to answer. And the worst case scenario is it's a very flexible, powerful pump spell.
Well, it's time to untap here. Of course, Roos does have access to Advent of the Worm, so you have to imagine that Smith is a little bit scared and wary of that card, but does have the answer in Selesnya Charm. One of the cards that, again, this is bound to happen, given how Magic is nowadays, that's just really underplayed, given its power level.
I think it's especially the case with Ravnica blocks, because there's only so many color combinations that are going to be viable at any one time. Every color combination has its incentives, and some of them are just going to be left by the wayside because of the metagame.
You see Smith is going to go reaching here. You have to imagine a Selesnya Charm will be cast in just a moment to exile that Worm token. So that's going to get that off the table. Of course, he will gain a life from the gold spell. The gold spell that does occur, which is Advent of the Worm, because Soldier of the Pantheon is in play. So he goes up to 19, and Roos ends up taking a little bit of damage.
Now, the exception to that rule, of course, is Dimir. Dimir basically got nothing.
How dare they? Just treating Dimir like absolute rubbish.
Well, when you put Azorius Charm, Supreme Verdict, and Sphinx's Revelation and Detention Sphere in the same color combination, it limits what you can put in the black-blue shell as well.
I suppose that's true.
There's consequences for actions, is the short version of it.
Dimir could be, if Dimir was good, I think Esper would be too good.
Dimir got nothing, and Esper has still been one of the best decks to be playing for the last 18 months, so hard to feel too bad for them.
Time for a 2-2. Selesnya Charm on the end of turn.
Oh, and blue-black got the short end of the stick for once? Wow,
yeah,
Crimea River.
That's a welcome change, actually. No argument there. The last thing it needed was some sort of busted 3-mana removal spell.
Right.
See Roos tapping some mana right now. This is going to be another copy of Sylvan Caryatid with the ability to cast Advent of the Worm. Smith has some interest in doing that as well, so there is an Advent of the Worm on his side of things. It'll take 2 to do so, of course.
Looks like dueling worms here from each player.
Roos, oddly enough, out of ammo, actually, outside of that Advent Worm in the hand. No other cards hanging out over there for Dominic.
He does have 4 copies of Sphinx's Revelation, so he has the ability to refuel here if he finds it. But and 2 copies of Jace, 3 Kioras, 2 Elspeths. He's got a lot of heavy hitters from this spot.
Yeah. Advent Worm's going to come in. These look like they're going to trade. At least some sort of attack will occur here. And of course, some sort of block will occur in just a moment as well. I think Roos is just deciding exactly what he wants to do. As you see the Reed Duke 2/2 Knight token coming into play.
Well, you know he doesn't have Selesnya Charm. You would have seen that before blocks.
So the coast is clear. And there's the trades that will take place. Worms will run into each other. Reed Duke and the Sylvan Caryatid will stare at each other. And it looks like it's just going to be time for another Advent Worm, I imagine.
Now Danny has to decide, do I play this main phase and hit myself with the Supreme Verdict a little bit, or do I wait, but then counter spells might be online?
And you're not sure about the exact composition of your opponent's deck. Roos actually does have 2 copies of Dissolve, a card that you may not be expecting from this sort of strategy. You know, you may be on the thought process that your opponent is playing something like Prime Speaker Band, for example.
Yeah.
A deck that doesn't really have counter spells. Looks like Smith is just going to go here with a Smiter and an Elvish Mystic instead.
I like this play, flood the board, and then if you get hit by a sweeper, you have Advent left over.
Roos draws a card, copy of Detention Sphere. So by playing the spells now, does open himself up to that removal spell.
But still a sigh of relief from Danny, not one of the worst things that can happen to him that turn.
I got to agree. Here's the attack. Reed Duke will be blocked by Sylvan Caryatid. 1 damage will come across here. And if you're Smith, you're trying to close this game out pretty quick because the top decks that Roos has available are pretty scary.
You have to imagine that he has a lot of huge draws in his deck.
He goes reaching for mana right away. That's a pretty big one. That is a Kiora, the Crashing Wave. One of the reasons to want to play Bant. That Planeswalker, not seeing a lot of play in Standard yet, but you have to imagine once rotation happens, it will. Too good not to.
Assuming that super aggressive strategies are on the decline.
Yeah.
It doesn't match up very well with the mono reds and mono blacks of the world, but this card's super powerful.
Advent the Worm on the inset there from Smith will take 1 to do so. Smith will draw a card. See if he can keep the pressure on. Is it time to take care of that Kiora?
I mean, next turn it starts locking up the Advent token. And then Danny has very little pressure.
There's a Temple of Plenty. Top card will go to the bottom there for Smith. Back to Roos we go. See if Roos can find a big draw. It's just a breeding pool, so just going to pass the turn back. Hoping to draw a Revelation relatively soon.
Like now.
Yeah. Now would be good.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of time left.
3 mana.
Oh.
Okay, that's something that can get the game over with pretty quickly. A Johnny Caller of the Pride. Off the top of the deck there for Smith. Now he's trying to figure out exactly where he wants it to go and what he can afford to play around. Putting a +1/+1 counter on the Soldier token, for example, the Knight token, is actually pretty appealing since it beats Sylvan Caryatid in combat then.
Well, he can also flying and double strike the token, knock Dominic to 1, and then both creatures are lethal next turn. So even if Dominic finds a removal spell, that's not enough.
Yeah.
Or a Kiora or anything like this. So I like this play a lot.
That looks like exactly what's going to happen. And it looks like Roos just picked up a couple copies of lands, and he's going to have to concede the game. So Danny Smith is going to win game number 1 here over Dominic Roos. Green-white aggro up a game over Bant Control.
And to Danny's credit, if you go back and look at the second turn of the game, when he attacked with that Soldier to Pantheon with nothing, that set up that sequence there. If Dominic is falling to 3 instead of 1, all of a sudden Kiora, Detention Sphere, they're all live draws. So the 2 points of damage that Danny got in there early on in the game, very critical in setting up that line of play.
It's time to take a look at the sideboards here. We will start with Dominic Roos and his Bant Control deck.
2 Pithy Needle, 2 Nyx Fleece Rams, 2 Negates, 2 Mistcar Hydras, 2 Last Breaths, 2 Gainsays, 2 Dispel, and a Deicide. I think you're going to see Nyx Fleece Ram and Last Breath come in. Pretty simple stuff.
Other side of things here for Danny Smith, 2 Scavenging Ooze, 2 copies of Boon Satyr, 3 Unflinching Courage, 3 Mistcutter Hydra, 2 Celestial Flare, Ready and Willing, and a Johnny Caller of the Pride, and Esotess and Tactics. If I'm in his spot, I love Boon Satyr in this matchup for the same reasons I like Advent of the Worm, just the flexibility of the card and the fact that it does have flash. It can be played at instant speed. Big fan of Mistcutter Hydra, something to do when you are flooding out a little bit, but it looks like it's actually pretty good against this deck in general.
He just needs some stuff where, if the game goes long, he has extra upside. And haste is valuable against control decks as well. Both Boon Satyr and Mistcutter Hydra fulfill that role.
Ready Willing, the split card, could see some play here as a counter to a Supreme Verdict-esque effect. And a Johnny Calder Pride, well, we saw how good it was that first game, so I imagine that it will come in again as a just useful Planeswalker against this control deck.
It's good in games that are going long, and flying in double strike mode, really powerful with Advent, and also good when Dominic's trying to lock up the ground with cards like Corsair, Krufix, and Sylvan Caryatid.
And as these players do sideboard and finish up, game two will be underway in just a moment, but we've talked about it a couple times this weekend, but it bears repeating. SCG Game Night is on the way.
Exciting stuff is going to start in September. You see there are 2 pins and 8 foils each week. Every month we're going to be switching up the art. You see that cute little bugger on the left-hand side of your screen. That's how we're going to be kicking off in September. This is supposed to be a little more casual, local store focused. So if you want to run these as standard or draft tournaments on Wednesday night, that's fine. Even casual formats that are unsanctioned, that's cool too. Store owners, tournament organizers, you can manage all this stuff through your normal Star City Games organized play resources. And players, if you're interested in bringing this stuff to your local store every Wednesday night, talk to your store owner, talk to your tournament organizer. Again, starts in September.
It's not hard to get a hold of StarCityGames.com/game night or game night at StarCityGames.com for your emails. We look forward to seeing a lot of stores hosting this. It's a pretty cool promotion going on.
We like the idea of getting more grassroots support for stores. The IQs do that, but those are very competitive focused. You can only have them so frequently in particular areas. But we think Wednesday night could be a great addition to stores large and small to get some more grassroots, localized, casual-friendly, organized play.
Star City Games Game Night coming in September. Right now we turn our attention back here to Danny Smith and Dominic Roos. You see the records on the screen, 7-2. A lot of opens. These records would not be very good, but this particular one, as we are just over the cutoff for 10 rounds, one of these players could win if tiebreakers do go their way in the elimination rounds tonight.
It's the odd thing about the SCG Open Series. There's a lot of variance in what the attendance we get from open to open. Sometimes we're low 10, sometimes we're high 10, sometimes we're low 11. I think we've even had one high 9 tournament this year, so it really influences the records that people need and what the later rounds of the tournament look like.
And Knoxville was the high 9 that we had. Man, can't believe I'm going to say this 2 months ago. Jeez.
How's that even possible?
I don't know. Feels like we were just there. That's crazy. Knoxville's a sweet city, too. That's why I remember that one.
It was great. I loved it there.
It's got a real college town feel. I don't know. As I'm getting older, I really do appreciate just the college town vibe that a lot of places have.
Especially,
it's really sweet.
Well, I do like college towns in general. There's something about the Mid-South cities of, Knoxville, Asheville, Raleigh, in that Louisville, that kind of range of sounds where it's, always got this great, art, live music, bar scene vibe to them. Small town enough where, it's friendly, but large enough where the dining's good and there's stuff to do. I don't know. I'm a big fan of that area. Knoxville was another city on that list.
It checked off all those things. I enjoyed my stay there. Hopefully we'll head back there for the Open Series yet again. I know Evan Ernst was happy. That's his hometown.
Yeah.
Roos going to begin with a breeding pool. Danny Smith looking at experiment 1, and that's where things will start for him. Talk about another card that's underplayed, one of the better 1-drops. Here's a Sylvan Caryatid.
And this is one of the cards that matches up well against. Not too hard for Danny to get this up to 3 power. Caryatid can't block anymore. You have protection against Supreme Verdict, so very important card for beating Supreme Verdict decks.
I think if you're Danny, you want to start up playing that Plains and get in there for 1. You have to imagine that Roos is a little bit scared of Selesnya Charm at this point.
This man ain't blocking.
Yeah. Hey, he's going to take 1, I think, a high percentage of the time there.
Yeah.
Just can't afford to block. Here's another experiment 1, and now our Soldier of the Pantheon is going to involve both of these.
And good sequencing there from Danny. I mean, if he plays the Soldier before combat, there's no way that Dominic's going to throw a block, or he's certainly going to block in that world. This way, it's a free point. We saw last game, the free points definitely mattered.
Here's 3 mana. There's the Detention Sphere. Now, that's pretty good. That'll take care of both of those experiment ones, but Soldier of the Pantheon still being in play will gain a life and does give Smith another attacker. Advent of the Worm the draw here for Danny.
I understand why Danny played it. It's not like that other experiment one's doing a lot sitting in his hands.
So of course.
You gotta risk it. Not great, but that's one less Detention Sphere that Dominic has to fight over your Advent of the Worms and Planeswalkers and so forth.
And we come for 2. And the follow-up here looks like maybe a Loxodon Smiter, and it is. So the 4/4 Elephant will join the party. Roos will take a draw here. You see it, Advent of the Worm. Going to play an Island. This is 4 mana tapped very quickly, and now that is a Kiora that will shut down the Smiter.
Great start here for Dominic. I mean, he's got a wall to block the Soldier. Kiora's going to lock up that Smiter, and he's only got to fend off for a couple turns here before we might be looking at some 9/9s.
That'd be the token I want. if I were ever to win one of those invitationals.
It's a Kraken.
Unleash the Kraken.
An otherwise human head on a Kraken's pretty awesome.
I think I could be made to look like a monster. I would look forward to that. Roos will take a draw here again. We know about Advent of the Worm. Kiora already in play, so that elevator is going to go up in just a moment, I imagine. Yep, up to 4 we do go. Roos going to play a breeding pool past the turn back. I don't have anything to do. That's too bad. I just have 4 mana.
Flooding out again.
Here is a 5/5 from Tandy.
So unlucky.
Smith will take his turn. You have to wonder if he is scared of Advent of the Worm here. The answer is no. We're coming into Kiora.
I mean, he might be scared, but he doesn't really have a choice.
Yeah. So there's an Advent. Do we need to tap that way? Yeah, it needs the green.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little curious about that. Last card in Roos' hand is a Sphinx's Revelation, too. Wowee. Trading of the Worm. Soldier will knock Kiora down to 2. We'll see if Smith wants to add anything to the board here.
I still think he needs to add more stuff. I understand, you're worried about Supreme Verdict here, but what he has on board doesn't allow him to beat Kiora. He's got to add more.
I think we're in a situation where you just can't play around it.
No.
There's a Fleece Main line. Now Smith maybe considering putting that Soldier of the Pantheon that he has, and he's just going to pass the turn back. Kind of pacing things a little bit.
I don't mind playing the second Soldier there because it's immune to Detention Sphere.
And that was the draw there for Roos. That's kind of why I wanted to play it as well. You actually beat me to it. The fact that it is immune is actually a real bonus. There's a Sphere. So there goes the Fleece Main line. Looks like Smith missed the trigger on the Soldier.
Probably not that relevant in this matchup.
You saw Kiora shut down the Smiter. Soldier, of course, with no good attack due to that Sylvan Carry added in the way. So you can see a little bit of frustration here from the green-white aggro player.
His initial pressure has been stymied here. Kiora is so good against one large threat.
Well, he's going to try to attack again. We saw this work on turn 2, but will it work on turn 7? The answer is a resounding no.
Dominic has the mana that he needs, and he's protecting Kiora, so that blocks easy.
There's a Smiter. Just going to pass the turn back. Again, I'm with you. I'd prefer to cast that Soldier because you can't really mess around in this situation. I think you got to get the job done, get that ball rolling.
Yeah.
We're just going to play a Nyx Fleece Ram.
The Ram's very good too. I mean, he's 2 turns away from being able to go ultimate with Kiora. So just defending it, and 0/5 does the job just fine here. Getting Dominic closer to that emblem.
Once the Leviathan's going to play, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Not only enough, as good as Sphinx's Revelation is here, I'm sure Dominic would like to trade it in for something else because he's so close to just being able to win the game with Kiora.
There's some pretty simple blocks. Here comes the follow-up. This is the Fleece Main line. Smith slowly but surely adding creatures to the board.
I think he's got to cast it. There's no point in leaving anything left in the chamber.
Yep.
You're going to lose the Supreme Verdict in this spot almost certainly. It's fine to just empty out everything, give yourself the best shot of beating everything else.
I promise Soldier isn't good on turn 8.
Yeah.
Roos will take a draw there. There's an Elspeth. And a Soldier was bad before. It's certainly bad now.
Yeah.
There's the Sun's Champion. This is part of the reason, again, that we're kind of harping on this is because you want to close the door as quickly as you can.
For sure.
They have better draws than you over the long term.
Yeah.
Elspeth going to take care of those. Kiora's going to shut down that Fleece Main line, and Nyx Fleece Ram is ready for that Soldier.
And Danny has been 1 creature short multiple times of doing damage to Kiora. He's now 1 creature short of being able to stop Elspeth. And I think the game might just be over now.
Yeah, even though Nyx Fleece Ram is kind of in the way, Fleece Main Lion can't go ultimate, but hey, that's a 4/4. Nyx Fleece Ram happens to be an 0/5, so we're going to cash it in. It's time for a Kiora emblem. I don't think this is the first time, but it doesn't happen often.
We see it from time to time. I've seen it beat a few times, in fact.
I've actually seen it beat by the card that ticked up, which is an Elspeth, which is ridiculous. But that just shows how good Elspeth is. And now it's time for a Leviathan in just a moment. You saw the Kiora emblem there. And there is the first of what is likely many Krakens, or just one.
Yeah. He's seen enough. No Brave the Elements in this list, so.
Dominic Roos able to tie things up here against Danny Smith. Bank control and Green Aggro going to a third game.
See, does Danny have any sort of root-borne defenses type of stuff here? Things to fight over Supreme Verdict?
Nothing too great in the sideboard. I mean, Ready Willing is the only one.
Sure.
You know, that's the one thing. When you think of green-white as far as cards that are good to beat Supreme Verdict with, of course, we talk about root-borne defenses, but it's actually been a long time since we've seen that card.
We haven't seen a lot of, populate-centric builds in a while. We do see them from time to time, but pretty rarely. And that also might have been a great choice for this weekend as well. You want to be Tom Ross's deck? Try Tristani.
Jeez. Jeez.
Yeah.
Why you got to do Tom like that? He can never beat that card. Come on now. Of course, if you are just joining us, we do appreciate it. It's been a long day of coverage, but a fun one here from Las Vegas. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan. Round 10 of 10. Game number 3 will be underway at SCG Live. Hashtag SCGVEGAS for your tweets all weekend long. It's been fun. We've got a diverse field here in Vegas, and we know at least one player in the top 8, and that is Joe Lissette.
And we ain't done. We still got our quarters tonight, too.
Oh, you better believe it.
Yeah.
That change does not take place for a little while. Not until July 19th through the 21st in Baltimore will we do all of our elimination rounds on Sunday morning.
Though I do think that the new schedule is going to be really good for everyone involved.
Yeah, so
Players, people viewing at home, on a selfish level, us. It's going to be good for everyone.
I think players will be able to get out of here, I think, reasonably and around in between 10 to 11 o'clock, which will give them hopefully enough time to grab something to eat and get, 7 or 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah, you can see the new schedule here.
Yeah, and of course, our Legacy Open will start at 9 a.m. And then our Modern Premier IQ, which I am excited for, as Modern is maybe my favorite format. It's actually inching towards Vintage, given my past 24 hours of play.
I find every format to be really fun in small doses. Variety is the important thing for me.
Variety is the spice of life.
It is.
For you. For you.
Well, no, because I actually, when it comes to playing Magic decks, I don't really approach it with much variety. But I do like dabbling in different formats. I find myself easy to get burned out on doing one thing. But, playing a little Legacy, play a little Standard, play a little Modern, draft a little bit, touch a little Vintage. That's the way I kind of like to run it.
As someone who's been playing Green Red Tron for over 365 days, it takes me a while to get burnt out of things.
Okay.
So, variety for me is not the spice of life. I love just doing what to do.
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
Playing Karn on turn 3.
How is that even fair? How's that even? It's not even fair.
I don't know, but I'm gonna keep doing it until they tell me to stop. That I can promise you. You see, of course, $5,000 in cash prizes open, points to all people who do play, and the top 4 of our Modern Premier IQs will give away invites to the Invitational. And of course, not only are we running those starting in Baltimore at our Open Series events, but local stores can get them just like they get IQs.
Yeah, we already have some lined up. We've been showing you some clips of that, but we in Tampa, and all over the place, we're going to be running these IQs.
Coming to Tacoma too.
Tacoma, pretty close to where you're at.
Yeah, it's about 45 to an hour. Oddly enough, I always feel like it's 30 minutes, and then I'm running late for the tournament. So maybe it's me who's been wrong about that the whole time.
Yeah, that's how I am about driving to work every day. So I can sympathize.
Yeah. See, what it is in reality is that it's 30 minutes from my house to the airport with no traffic, and then another 30 minutes from the airport to Tacoma. So I don't know where I get 30 from where I live in Seattle to Tacoma, but I'm always late every time. Maybe I'll correct that. Maybe I won't. Smith's going to be on the play here, and he's going to send it back. One thing that Green-White Aggro does not do a great job of is mulliganing.
It's tough. I mean, you can still get your curve or whatever. And he's got some staying power cards, as Johnny most notably, but it's going to be tough. And the colored mana situation in this deck is not good. Somehow, even with finally getting a Green-White Temple and Mana Confluence, the mana's still not very good.
Yeah, 2-color deck just has a horrible mana base.
Well, you have Soldier of the Pantheon, Experiment 1, Johnny, Advent of the Worm, Boon Satyr.
Your turn 2 plays are gold,
Yep.
so you have to have green and white if you want to cast Fleece Mane Lion or Selesnya Charm. The mana is stretched. It always has been. The power level of the cards is high.
Can you imagine people played roughly as color-sensitive a deck in Blue-Green Madness with just no duels whatsoever?
Yeah, no shame and no duels. But that deck had careful study to hopefully smooth things out.
Yeah.
Hopefully. That's my favorite Magic deck of all time.
Blue-Green Madness?
Yeah, even over Kithkin.
Okay.
Yeah. I love Blue-Green Madness. I loved Wild Mongrel, Arrogant Worm, and Circular Logic and Friends. Big, big fan. just a really sweet aggro deck to play. But a lot of those decks back then were some of my favorites, even though I didn't play them all the time. Like, I have a healthy appreciation for the Mirari's Wake deck back in the day, the Cunning Wake deck with Mirari. I also liked, I actually liked Psychotog a lot. I thought it was a really cool deck.
I think that a lot of it has to do with the decks you initially played. There's such nostalgia for it, especially, you know, you've been in the game 10 years. I've been in for 15, maybe a little bit longer at this point. So it's actually quite a bit longer than 15 years.
Yeah, 10 is short for me, too.
Yeah. So I think it's, you know, kind of first love sort of stuff. I think that if I went back and played Saga Masks Type 2 now, I would want to kill myself. But I remember at the time feeling like there's nothing else I want to do in life than port my opponent and counterspell every single card they play.
That sounds like a delight to me. This is the turn 2 Fleeceman Lion. Roos with a Temple of Mystery. Take a draw here. It's a Temple of Plenty. And there's a Temple of Enlightenment. So the trio of temples for the bank control decker here. Smith going to get his attack on. Going to put Roos down to 17. Let's see what the follow-up's going to be. I think it's important that he does have one.
It's the first time that I believe Dominic's missed carry added, so that's something.
There's an island. This is 3 mana, a D-Sphere. Smith has to let that go.
And that was off the top. That's really important for Dominic.
I got to agree. And there is a 2-2. So Smith is running low on cards. But that's what happens when you mulligan.
I believe to 4 this game.
Yeah, did not keep a lot of cards. You see 2 copies of Advent of the Worm in hand. Gonna pass the turn back. Roos draws a card. That land will come into play tap. That's the last one we know about in Temple of Plenty, but of course that can help find the next one. You do see a Supreme Verdict, a Cure. 4 mana is a sweet spot for Roos's deck.
No shortage of power in that hand too. You see, you know, Kiorda, more Planeswalkers, a Verdict. Pretty tough to imagine Danny keeping up with this.
Yeah, the thing here about the green-white deck is it's so important for the deck to curve out. You know, get to that 4 mana sweet spot, because if you had 4 mana right now, this Supreme Verdict wouldn't even matter. You'd be able to cast an Advent of the Worm and keep the beatdowns going.
And Dominic is at 13. If he doesn't have counter spells, these Advents could make things tricky.
There's a Mutavault. I'm just going to pass the turn back here. Smith, you have to imagine, is going to fire off one of these. Doesn't have much of a choice. So there's an Advent of the Worm. There's your 5/5 Worm token. Smith will untap and draw, but it looks like this may trade. Maybe not. I was going to say it may trade, and it looks like it will. So there's an Advent to trade with that one. And now Smith, all he can do is pass the turn back. Roos will untap, take a draw, see if he finds 6th land. He does, in the form of Temple of Plenty. Gonna put the top card down to the bottom and simply pass the turn back yet again. So here's an Advent of the Worm. Hey, might be able to get some damage across here. I'm a little surprised that Roos didn't cast a spell.
Does he have, does he have another Advent in hand?
I don't think so. You know, I see a Verdict over there and some other things, but I do not believe he has another Advent. So here's an Ajani. You have to imagine it's going to be flying in double strike territory. It might just be ticking up. Okay. Just going to tick up. Ajani's going to go up as well. Here's an attack for 6. Roos is going to go down to 7. And of course, this is where Kiora looks really good.
Yeah, respecting the possibility there, I guess, of another Advent. Although even then, I think that was a turn to flying in double strike. I feel like.
Yeah, I think you got to get all that damage in. There's a Kiora. It's going to shut down the Advent of the Worm token, and now Nick's Leash Ram is going to show up to the party.
Tough turn for Danny.
I got to agree. Smith will take a draw. Not quite sure what the pickup was. Looks like it was a spell, though. Gonna tick this up, maybe? Not just yet. Looks like it's a Loxodon Smiter.
One of Magic's most honest cards.
It's kind of scary to think that a 3-mana 4/4 is an honest card nowadays. Oh, how the times have changed.
There's been a recalibration of power level.
Yeah, that's certainly true. Temple of Plenty to draw here. Now, Roos could lose this game if he's not careful. I mean, everything is on the board. You know, that's the big thing.
Well, with the Johnny in play, he's at the risk of getting killed by Advent at a moment's notice.
There's 4 mana. I think this may be a Supreme Verdict, and it is. So that'll clear those things up. Nick's Leash Ram will go away as well. Now Mutavault's going to go after Johnny, so that's going to go down to 4. Kiora will tick up to 4. So Smith will take a draw. It's a copy of Boon Satyr. There's the real potential to steal this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's in play. That's a lethal flying and double striker. And
Yeah.
who knows if Dominic wants to commit his mana attacking Ajani again next turn.
Yep, just going to pass the turn back. I like this play from Smith.
Yeah, he's keeping up appearances. This is great. I mean, if Dominic just taps out for Elspeth, he might die.
Roos.
Oh my God.
Yep. It seems like the coast is clear. You can see Smith kind of walking him into it saying, yeah, you got an Elspeth,
He
man.
can't, I mean, Danny's doing such a good job of selling this.
Yeah. And Kjor's going to target that. Here come 3 soldier tokens. And
I think-
Smith is going to finish it up, I
Is
think.
this a 4-card hand? I mean,
I don't know exactly how low he mulliganed. I don't think he mulled to 4 this game. He mulliganed at least once.
And this is, I mean, this is the theft.
Yeah, this is Boon Satyr. This is +2/+2 potentially, but he doesn't even need it. He's able to just give this double strike and attack here for 8. And we're coming right in the air.
Yeah, and there it is. Danny's, what a theft. Oh, man.
Yeah, Danny Smith. And it looks like he may have mulliganed as low as you mentioned. It may have been down to 4.
He was throwing up 4 fingers
Yeah,
there.
able to get the job done. Green-white aggro taking down Bant Control, and the best way to describe it is a theft. Yes.
Yeah, Dominic had all the tools there. I mean, I don't know if there's anything to do differently specifically there, but Danny there played great, and that Ajani, I mean, that did all the heavy lifting.
And that card's been known to steal a game or 2.
Oh, yeah.
With that double strike ability. Danny Smith's going to move on to 8-2 with Green-white aggro. We will see, depending how things break, if he makes a top 8 later this evening.
And it always shocks me when I see these green-white lists that don't play it, especially when you have Boon Satyr.
Yeah.
That and Advent of the Worm, you have the potential to kill people out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It comes up all the time, and you know that game. If Ajani's on Danny's deck, he has no shot to win. There's no chance.